On this episode, we talk about how to make varsity soccer as a freshman, winning versus development once again, and
a little sprinkle of me.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ray Sanders, and this is episode number 17. Coach Knows Best. We have Cris Alverez in the house. It's high energy level.
I'm ready. A little sprinkle of me.
We got a little sprinkles of Cris today. So for those of you who may not know, this is Cris Alverez. He's a coach in our club. For those people who don't know you, Cris, tell us a little something about yourself.
Like Ray said, my name is Cris Alverez. A little bit about myself. From Los Angeles. Born in LA, Boyle Heights, East LA. Attended Roosevelt High School.
I was born in East LA.
Okay, so yeah, born in LA. 4 years high school, Roosevelt High School. Moved to Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Coached for an independent club.
Right.
From then on, Aztecs. So I coached the girls 04 and the boys 06.
Sweet, at the Aztecs, awesome. So over the course of time, as we've gotten to know each other, I've kind of recognized, dude, your mindset. I really like your mindset. You definitely are different, even though you came from a different club where you were independent. You really didn't fit the mold of what it is that I find within those types of independent teams. So we were talking about some of these different questions that we have a stockpile of questions that people ask all the time. And so some of these questions I felt that you would be able to answer appropriately. So we're going to get right into it. As usual, if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe below. Outside of that, let's get into the questions.
Should my daughter's practice have a progression from beginning to end?
Dude, so in general, dude, I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think that practices at the beginning, I think to frame this question, should the practice from the very beginning to the end have a constant theme, or could it be sporadic and kind of all over the place? And not only from practice of, let's say, Tuesday from beginning to end, but what about practice Tuesday and Thursday? Should practice Tuesday and Thursday look close together?
I think sporadic. It could be sporadic at times.
Sure.
Depending if you really want to hit a certain point you want to hit, especially like, yeah, sometimes after a weekend or something you want to correct, something small.
Sure.
But like what you get trained on, or when you go to your training courses, coaching wise, you want to have your warm up, you want to have your small sided activity expanded and so forth, and develops into a game.
Right.
Whether it's building off the back, whether it's changing the point of attack, just stuff like that. So should my daughter practice have a progression from beginning to end? I say yes.
Yes, overall.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. When I recognize soccer practices in our community, typically, what you end up finding is practices that at the beginning it'll be like finishing, then you're doing possession, then you're doing fitness. Then the next practice you're working on defense, you're working on defending corner kicks, and then you're working on finishing again. And so two practices really didn't look like each other, and kids are only able to retain so much. I think that I heard somewhere where realistically, if a kid can learn one new thing, only one new thing at practice, then it's actually been a success. But yet we try and go and teach kids 20 things in an hour and a half, and it's just not practical. And so I think that obviously Man United, if you just got scored on 2 counterattacks or whatever it may be from this past weekend, then yeah, dude, having a training session on defending a counterattack might be appropriate. But the reality is that we're in the youth development game, and in order to really have long-term success in terms of youth development, you need to build off of each other, where you have topics for a certain time frame of anywhere from 2 weeks to maybe as much as 6 weeks. So for let's say 4 weeks, you're focusing on one topic like counterattacking, and then by the end of it, the kids are so annoyed by that particular topic that when you bring up something in 6 months, they'll know exactly what it is that you're talking about.
You know what's crazy though? As coaches, sometimes the kids are telling you, or the players are telling you, you know, why are we got to do this again?
Yeah.
Okay, we just did this on Monday. Why do we got to do it on practice on Wednesday again? And it's because they're trying to drill it. You're trying to drill it in their head, trying to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
But at the same time, us as coaches, sometimes you try to listen to your players or try to make sure you got their attention, they're not bored.
Yeah.
So then you do that. You throw something different on a Wednesday.
I agree.
You throw something different on a Wednesday. You do it. You change it up just a little bit. But if you could try to maintain that same your same points that you
Yeah.
want, or the same goals that you want to achieve,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Then go for it. You just
Yeah,
make sure it's appropriate.
occasionally sprinkling a
That's
little bit
what it is.
of something different. All right, sweet. So the answer is yes. Your practice should have some type of progression, not only from beginning to end, but probably for 2 or 3 weeks within the same topic.
I agree.
How do you convey the importance of development to your child when their team keeps losing?
So this is interesting. So we always have this conversation about the winning versus development and on and on. And so, we've answered this question a couple of times, but this is a little bit different because I think it was a mom that asked this one. She was asking about like her team, her son, like she understands it as a parent, but her son's team has lost a little bit and he just wants to go on some type of winning team, wants to go back. I think this scenario, if I remember correctly, they want to go back to AYSO because they used to win all the time and now it's a little bit challenging. So how as a parent, do you convey adult mentalities to a kid when a kid, dude, they just want to win?
I think you continue to remind them.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep reminding them that eventually this season might have not gone well, but new players come in, you probably have new players around you, you could win some more games. As you move on, even in high school, you're going to have a bunch of different players around you. And then from then on, you want to go to college. They don't come out and they don't look for like a whole team. They're not here to pick up a whole team, a winning team. They're here to look at it yourself as an individual.
Yeah.
You know, how good are you as a player? I want that kid, the one that's developed, the one that's worked hard. And they're here to see like one certain player. They're not here to see a whole team. So I know they're little,
Mm-hmm.
They're young or some are young, they're kids. They want to win because
Right.
at the same time, so I guess there's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, yes, development is important, but also winning is important.
I could not agree more.
If I could share something really,
You can
with,
share.
with one. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Why? Thank
That's why we do this.
you. My team.
Mm-hmm.
A player of mine in particular.
Mm-hmm.
She very good player. Very, 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 very fortunate to have her in my team, or
Mhm.
her being in the team.
Right.
She's talented. She's really skilled, but I felt the development was still there. You
Mhm.
still feel like there's still development on you. I'm still trying to push you, trying to make you better. But even as a parent, sometimes the parents want the winning part of it.
Sure.
They want the winning part of it, and basically, I guess you gotta find that equal medium because even in like this season we just had, we played State Cup. We were very, very, very the next round in State Cup. And I think if that would have happened, or you had achieved that goal, and you're able to get to the next round, 16 and then 8, they would have stayed. They would have seen, okay, parents' mentality, okay, now I see development. They worked hard. They got through the next round. My daughter, my son, he's happy. She's happy. So we'll stay. You continue to stay. So because I just see it, I guess, so it's a little bit of both. Like you try to instill that development is important, but we're all competitive. So winning's important.
Winning's important. One of the things that's really interesting is like when you go to other countries, and like I've gone outside of the country to some coaching courses. Everywhere that I go, it's overwhelming the amount that they talk about. We do not care about team. We only care about the player. Like it's a trip because it's a complete difference like within our country. We were talking about this with your son at the ODP thing. There was a boy that we had, his name was Marlon, and he went to U.S. national team camp. He's one of the most creative players that have ever played with us in the club. He ends up going to U.S. national team camp. They need some defender for some drill or something like that, and he ends up volunteering. Like, oh, I'll go do it. And so I talked to him after I was watching, and he was like, oh, well, I was trying to be like a team player. I'm like, no, dude. You're trying out. You're here at the highest level. You do not show that you're a team player and then not shine in terms of your actual skill set. So here in America, what we think about as a player is like, oh, well, I belong to this team, rather than a player belonging to a club or belonging to a development program. And so then therefore what ends up happening is that player is too concerned about what's going on with the team and not being able to look at themselves individually and saying, where am I developing? Another quick story. When I was a kid, I played on a club team that was based out of LA. We won basically everything at that time around surf Cup, Nomads Cup, National Cup. We went to Dallas Cup. We did it all. So we won all those things, dude. Not Dallas Cup, but we won the other ones. So we would always beat the same team in LA. They were our rivals. We always beat them in the final or semifinal. I had a couple friends that were on that team. I legitimately thought that I was a better. We kept on beating them.
You like the winning part of it.
I love the winning part of it. I was a kid. And this is where I understand like this aspect. The problem was though is that those guys, one went to UCLA, another one went to UConn. I for sure did not. I was probably playing in those games 25 to 50% of the game. Those guys were playing anywhere from 50 to 100% of the game, and they were developing better. Now we beat them 1-0, right?
You got the win. You got the win, right? Yeah.
Right. But the reality was the circumstance that they were in, they were actually developing better. So it's really hard, and I don't wear those medals anymore. And so just like I used to. Remember, Ray, when I'd walk around the house wearing medals? Why are you shaking your head? I was just kidding. So anyway, you're not supposed to tell my secrets. So the bottom line is this, is that at the end of the day, it's really challenging. He's tripping out. He thinks he's in trouble. So it's really challenging to be able to convey that to a kid, that it's really not about the team. You will not go to college. You said it. You will not go to college with your teammates.
That's what it really comes down to.
And so you have to really get it in the mindset of like wins, losses, okay, but at the end of the day, what circumstance am I going to be in order to develop the most? And the best that you can convey that to your child, I mean, the best that you can do that, the more successful that I think that child will be. Certainly, though, here's the last thing, though, with it. You cannot lose all the time. Like, that is not, like,
I think that kills the whole morale. Like,
yeah, like, you have to still love the game.
You're not going to want to develop, like, in a sense, because it affects it. It's all kind of, like, together. You a little bit of, I'm not saying win all the time, but you have to keep it there. There
has to be a healthy balance. And I think that the role that you play on a team in a lower division, where that team is proper, player will develop more, that they're winning more, but their role on that team's a little bit different, and they won't win as much.
Or less playing time.
Used to play center mid, now they're playing outside flanker. There's all these other variables. So I agree.
I agree.
I want my daughter to play varsity her freshman year. What can I do to help make that happen?
So what do you think, Chris?
This question was brought up to me by actually, she's a viewer. She said she views all your episodes.
Oh, I love it, dude.
She said she's a fan. Make sure I tell Ray she's a fan. Yeah, so shout out.
22 subscribers. No. 52 subscribers.
She's one of the 52.
We're coming up.
It's getting up.
Dude, okay. I saw something earlier too. Somebody had like 1 million subscribers. I was like, what? It's just, anyways.
We're going to get there this episode.
1 million.
Okay.
We should talk about that.
I want my daughter to play varsity her freshman year. What can I do to help her make that happen? Continue to practice. Freshman year, you got to realize also there's some teams, and it's their senior year. Some players their senior year. You got seniors, you got freshmen coming in. Sometimes it's all depending, I guess, on even what high school you play. Because I actually didn't mention I coach high school. I coach for Independence High. I coach the JV boys, and last year I coached the JV girls. You get 40, 45 kids out there trying to try out for the team.
Right. Right.
So you really, I guess, want to get that attention of that coach.
Attention.
Attention is really important.
I agree.
And also kind of let them know a little background of where do you play. And then they'll keep an eye on you. They'll be watching you. And talent's talent.
Right.
So if you see a good player, regardless you're a freshman coming in, they're going to pick you up. So, I mean, if this question, how do you do it? Continue training your daughter. Continue to keep her active, not just the Monday, Wednesday practice, but and we have that availability in our club. We have my 04s. You could come out and train with the 03s. Just keep them active, keep them playing.
They got to play. I agree. I think that the big thing is that because when I think about this, so I'm going to ask another question. I'm going to ask a follow-up question to this, but to first answer this question, I think that the first thing is that if you're good enough to be on varsity, then you're going to make varsity one way or another. Even if you don't make it at the beginning, if you're on JV, they'll eventually bring you up because talent is talent, like you said. So the question is how do I make my kid good enough in order to be able to do that? I would recommend that he, she, whoever may be, that if you're within your club, you can go and practice with the older kids, you should. Because your freshman child, who is, if we use this year's ages, that's a 2003, is going to have to be able to go play with 2001s and 2000s. So if your club allows you as a 2003 to go and train with the 2001s, you should. If you're a 2004 and you could go train with the 2003 now, then you should. This is not something you should start doing a month before the tryouts. You should start doing that now of 2000, let's say as an example now of March, April of 2018 in order to be ready by November of 2018. So that's one, you got to be good enough. Number two, I hate politics. But there is a difference between politics and being strategic, right? So strategic, kind of like you're saying, like if you know who the varsity coach is, reach out to him or her, say, hey, my name is Betty, and I'm going to be coming to your school, and I really hope to be able to make varsity as a freshman, and blah, 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 blah. And so then once you say all of those things, when the tryouts come about, they're going to watch you, right? They're going to ask, what club do you play for, what this, what that,
So
right?
you want to be ready for that moment.
Yeah, like you got to be ready. Like if you're playing for the B team, it's going to be a challenge, right, to make varsity as a freshman. But bottom line is that you get that information. So what you're doing is you're getting that coach's attention, but then once you get that attention, it has to be accompanied with ability and with preparation, right? So you'll get the opportunity, but you've got to be prepared.
Then there's the other angle to it, like there's the other point of view.
Right.
There's also, where are you going to play high school at? You know, are you going to play at a D3, a D1? You know, are you going to be at a high school as a D1? So it's going to be a little harder to get to be a varsity player in a D1 high school compared to, say, I would go to a D3. I don't want to mention another school, but
Sure.
whatever you want.
Well, that was going to be part of my follow-up question. So this is an interesting dynamic, so we'll just add it. How important is it, do you think, for a kid to play varsity as a freshman? Like this was an interesting question because when I think of questions like this, I think about parents and I think about egos and like my kid plays varsity as a freshman and da-da-da-da.
True story. I played varsity my freshman year. I did not play much time. I was playing like 15 minutes out of the game, 15, 20 minutes. We won all city. I mean, we went out, played at UCLA, played out there. So our final for our district out there in LA. But my playing time was really minimal.
Yeah.
Like I hardly played. I was part of the team. I was out there in the group picture. I did everything. But did I develop myself or did I get better? Now looking back, I wish I would have played more my freshman year. I wish I would have played JV and gotten that opportunity.
Do you feel you got better your freshman year by playing with them, or do you feel you would have gotten better playing JV? So kind of like the earlier question, like the winning versus development concept, right? Like, do you go for the higher level where you got more playing time, or excuse me, the higher level where you're challenged more, or do you go on JV where you get more playing time?
That's a tricky question. I enjoyed the practice. I enjoyed training and playing around better players. I'm not going to kid you not. It was great. It was great to learn. When it came down to the games, it affects you mentally. Like it sucks to sit in the bench.
Yeah.
Like
right.
it sucks
Lose
to kinda
confidence.
watch the game, be in there and play.
It's a crazy concept, right? Because it's like your confidence is sky high at the beginning when you make it as a freshman.
Yes.
Then you get no playing time and your confidence drops so much.
So
I mean, theoretically, right? So yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how I feel about it. I think that it's case by case. I don't think that it's a one size fits all. I literally know in Bakersfield, a high school where a JV coach is by far better. This is in boys soccer. The JV coach is by far better than the varsity coach. And so within that scenario, would you rather play JV or varsity? I would say that you get into a situation as a freshman where you can play with other freshmen and sophomores with a better coach and you get a lot of playing time. I would say that. Now the hard thing is though is that then there's other variables. Sometimes JV teams have like 26 guys. Sometimes varsity teams have like 26 guys. Sometimes the JV team is better than other schools' varsity team, and that really just has to do with where you move and live. But if the idea is I need to be able to play varsity soccer because of prestige, or I want to put it on my resume, and I would always. To me, what always is going to trump all this stuff is going to be what's going to be in the best interest of development. And I would say, in general, if you're able to make varsity as a freshman, you do it. Because people ask me, sometimes the kids are given the choice, and they'll say, well, I made varsity, but I could play JV. What do you think I should do? And 90% of the time, I tell them to play varsity. Now, that's not always the case where it ends up being the best thing for them, but I think the varsity coach is probably going to have the varsity team is probably going to have the better coach. The varsity team is obviously going to have juniors and seniors. They're going to have the best competition, on and on. You're actually probably in a better dynamic to be able to play on the varsity team, eat at the practices and things like that, even if you're not getting the game time.
You know what? Another thing that kind of surprised me was the hype. Everybody talks about high school soccer and how it's great and it's great out there, and then people come out and watch it. But the level of play, to be honest, and I'm there. I'm a coach.
Yeah.
You know, some of the kids coming in, it's not like club. It's some kids.
It's really, really watered down.
They're off the whole time, like during the off season. They don't do anything. They don't play a sport, and then they come in like, oh, I want to be part of the team, or I want to be. And then you bring in certain players, and they lack a lot.
Yeah.
It lacks a lot. It's not the same thing as clubs. So, literally, it's funny because you would think that a youngers team in your club could play a lot better than another team out there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I agree. So it's really hard. It's case by case. Bottom line is, you want your daughter to play varsity as a freshman. Be good enough.
One more thing.
Okay, never mind.
Thank you.
No problem.
I mean, this is Coach Knows Best. I mean, you got to be real honest about this sometimes. So, I mean, sometimes you just got to be straight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if you have a tendency, you know the coach because of your club, because he's probably the same coach that coaches at your club, and you kind of relate to him. I mean, it's crazy. Like, if you make it in, I mean, knit him a blanket, buy him a cake for his birthday or something. And I'm guaranteeing you'll be part of that 18, 19 player roster.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
So kiss butt is what you're saying.
True story. Dropping the mic.
Do it. All right, Chris. So that's it. Episode 17 in the books. I'm
Done.
really proud. Well, you should have been on episode 16.
I
but
was.
you flaked on me. So I'm just glad that you're here. You're 45 minutes late today.
But I made it.
But you did make it.
I made it.
That's true. I really appreciate it.
And I'm on time into my practices. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do make it on time. So yes, I was supposed to be in episode 16, but good to be in episode 17.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, dude. Your knowledge that you've dropped today, I really appreciate it.
You got it.
And so listen, so outside of that, there's just like random people running outside right now. So outside of that, guys, again, listen, this show truly is for people. It's for the consumers. At the end of the day, if you guys have questions that you want and you feel that we're not really answering it, you want to ask something controversial, he'll for sure be willing to answer it. But continue to send in your questions. Ray7Sanders@gmail.com. That's Ray7Sanders, like the Colonel, @gmail.com. I don't know. That's really it, guys. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. Super important. My kids continuously remind me, please subscribe.
We need over 400 views.
We need 1,000 views on this episode. I told Chris, if we get 1,000 views on this episode, I will give him $75. And
$75.
Yep, and I'll even make it in like one of those big checks. So we need 1,000 views. So share with your friends.